Welcome to a very special 5 on 5. I'm pleased to be joined today by Chuck Todd, the host of the longest running television show in history, NBC's Meet the Press. Chuck, thank you so much for being with us today.
Happy to be there, Craig. Thanks.
Yeah, so 70 years this month for Meet the Press. What a legacy. What's it like for you to be a part of TV history?
It's exciting and a little, at the same time, a little scary. Every time I hear that longest running television show in history, it's a reminder you don't want to be the last moderator of the longest running television show in history. So it is a incredible legacy, but I'll admit the weight of that does sit on my shoulder every once in a while. But you know what? That's a good thing. I hope to leave my imprint on it in a positive way, and I look forward to someday handing the baton to somebody else.
Nice. Okay, so you're also the political director for NBC News. It's a fascinating time in American politics, needless to say.
Oh, yes.
What's the biggest challenge for you in that role?
I would say the biggest challenge right now is this fractured media environment, right? Both, we could look at it both on what you and I do for a living and the fact that we know we compete with this device as much as we do anything else when it comes to people. So there's that aspect of it, and that's been a giant change for our industry. But I think the biggest challenge for us politically also is the fracturing of belief of how we consume media, particularly political news, and that has obviously led to this polarization and this idea that, you know, the politicians and many in the public sort of believe the media are participants. Maybe some of our colleagues believe they should be participants in this process. I'm still a believer that we're not participants here. We're above it. We're part of the umpires. We're the observers. We're the accountability folks, but we're not getting involved in the back and forth. And so I think that's been the biggest challenge, this sort of blurring of the lines sometimes in our industry between news and opinion.
Sure. So what do you think in your education best prepared you for this job, or possibly in your background?
Well, I look to my late father. I mean, I say this because, and frankly, my dad was a political junkie. I grew up in a bipartisan household, which means, and in a healthy debate, which means my parents canceled each other's vote out, but they talked about why they canceled each other's vote out. So I sort of was always consumed with this. And my dad, I remember watching Meet the Press. The first moderator I remember was a gentleman by the name of Bill Monroe. My dad was a big David Brinkley fan. So that sort of was my consumer television education. And then, it's sort of immersing myself in political journalism for 25 years. I think, I spent 20 years professionally covering politics, and I'm glad I was able to do it. I think all of those 20 years and then some were necessary to prepare myself for this moment.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll have much more with Chuck Todd in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm here with the host of NBC's Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, the show celebrating 70 years this month. Chuck, how hard is it for you to prioritize what's in your show each and every week?
It's probably the most difficult thing. I mean, I could tell you, what we think we want to do on Wednesday can dramatically change on Thursday. And of course, sometimes we want to rebook guests coming on the Friday before and even sometimes the Saturday before. Look, the speed of the movement of sort of the news cycle, and frankly, this president, right? He jumps around in his ability to make news. For instance, I'll take you a little bit behind the scenes here at Meet the Press. We used to often pre-tape interviews. We might an interview you might see on Sunday, we might tape on Thursday or Friday. We don't do that much anymore because the president's tweeting all the time. So it is one of those where that urgency, it does make it hard to, in some ways, to sometimes plan a show in advance. But look, ultimately with so much going on, I think the best way to handle it, and what we've tried to do, is you take what you think are the two big stories and go deeper on it. I think the viewer gets more out of that than trying to do sort of 6 stories from the week and doing a little bit of all of them.
Yeah, it's certainly moving fast these days. Well, how does the divisiveness of our politics affect you personally?
Honestly, it's pretty demoralizing as a citizen, especially one that I view myself as sort of not just a political junkie. I love American history. I went to Washington, D.C. for school. I went to GW because I lionized the idea of the United States Senate, the American presidency. And so to watch what's happening now in this way we're devolving and our culture war. Look, we've always had sort of a culture divide all over the country. but now it's toxic. And I think now it's almost dangerous to our political discourse. And I certainly hope that all of us start to wake up to this problem.
Well, thank you again for being here. Congratulations.
Thanks, Craig. It's pretty cool. 70 years.
Absolutely. Well, you can watch Meet the Press on Sundays at 8 a.m. right here on NBC5. We'll be right back.